Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm going to show you how to make 2 window cards using border dies from Pinkfresh Studio and some fun sentiments and pattern papers as well. I'm starting off. The 2 dies sets I'm going to be using are the Spring Floral border die and the Gatsby border die. And you notice both of these come with a more detailed border image and then more of an outline, heavier, thicker. So to do this, I've already die cut the more detailed one. I like to use a paper piercer to hit some of those little tiny pieces out. Now for the more outline version of it, I want to do some partial die cutting so I can get a little extra of an edge on that. So I'm going to show you how to do that using my die cut machine. First of all, lineup, I'm using a lighter weight white cardstock for this as well. It's about 80-pound Neenah Solar White. And you notice I line up my die and then I very carefully put that top plate so it doesn't quite cover the very edge there. And then you'll notice once I die cut, see how it cut all of the detail except that bottom edge, which is perfect. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. I got all the little pieces out of there. And you can kind of play with this a little, but it's pretty easy to do once you see. If you need to, use removable tape just to hold it in place so you don't have to worry about anything moving. That one has a few little detail pieces to pop out, but as you can see, that's quite easy to do. So I used white on white just because I wanted the depth of both layers and the detail, but I wanted to keep it kind of in a soft and neutral. So instead of using contrasting cardstock, I just used white on white. I'm using a glue pen to adhere them together. Use any kind of adhesive you prefer. You can use a liquid adhesive, a spray adhesive. I'm just most comfortable with my glue pen because I can get the control that I want and get the adhesive in all the places I want. I like to use a piece of just printer paper to protect my desk as well because it's so fine and detailed that glue's going to kind of hit more places than just the die. All right, now that we have that attached, I'm going to use my scoreboard just to score along that bottom edge to get a fold. I noticed on my scoreboard, if I lined it up, it was pretty much right on the 2-inch mark that I wanted to do. Instead of my scoring tool, I have a little, just a detail tool. It's broken, so ignore just kind of the hodgepodge of that. It's just kind of something I feel like I get better control on. Most of my score tools kind of have some grooves in them, so they're a little harder. But I did use my scoring tool to crease that edge. Now I've done the other side as well, because I'm going to make a match set, and you can see as I put them in there, I'm going to attach them on the back using some good sturdy adhesive. My personal favorite is Scor-Tape. I feel like it's nice and sturdy and easy to use. So I'm going to put some on, peel the back off, and then I'm going to line it up from the front, making sure to hold it in place and then press it just on the back to get that adhesive. And you can see how it still folds open and gives you, like I said, kind of a fun window on each side. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. All right, and now that that one's done, I'm going to move on and repeat the same process with the Spring Floral die. And this one I already have both those side pieces done. I did the same thing. I cut, scored, and folded them. Both of my pattern papers are from the Everyday Musings 6x6 paper pad. I'm going to throw a fresh little crease on these just to make sure they're folded as crisply as I can possibly manage. And then I'm going to adhere them the exact same way with my adhesive along the back, line them up and match them up on each. And then I'm going to get another, make sure and do it the right way, not backwards, like I almost did there. Get those both on there. I really love the detail on the Spring Floral die. Both of them are beautiful, but that one in particular is so intricate and fun. There we go. So I've got that on there. Now I need to add some sentiments to these. So I wanted just a little tiny sentiment that would be nice and simple. So I pulled out Lost in the City stamp set, and it's got some great little tiny thin sentiments. I pulled off the Missing You and Thinking of You, I think. And I'm going to heat emboss both of those on strips of black cardstock in white. I love sentiments on black cardstock. I just feel like they pop, and it's great contrast with the softer pastel or neutral colors on the background with all the white space. So I'm going to stamp both of those with embossing ink, and I just keep little scraps of black cardstock on hand for this because I do this quite a lot for sentiments. So I'm able to pull it out easily, and I stamp each side so I can do them both at the same time, sprinkle on my embossing powder, and then I can set them with my heat gun. One thing with tiny fine sentiments like this I've noticed when you ink them up with your watermark ink, don't press too hard or you lose some of the detail in the sentiment. I've had to work on that because I want to push too hard and then it just ends up you don't get the detail in the words, and it's a little harder to read and make it out. So I've learned to kind of press lightly, just make sure my stamp set is well inked up. That way I know I'll get a good clear impression and it'll work perfectly. And I played with this a few different ways before I just decided that I wanted to trim them down and mount them in the middle with a little bit of foam adhesive. So I'm going to trim them both down and plan my placement. And then I have some thin pre-done strips of foam adhesive. You can also just trim down foam adhesive from a larger roll into thin strips. And I like to make sure, and see, and I was going to adhere them straight down, and then I decided to do them with foam adhesive instead, just because I wanted that tiny bit extra dimension. And I probably shouldn't have even messed with, that little empty spot was bugging me, so I tried to add a little more foam adhesive just because I really like to get it all the way across so that I know it's mounted on firmly and sturdy. And if I put it in an envelope and pop it in the mail, it's not going to bend and fold and get mushed out of place. So, and then I ended up on this one making it a little too big, so I just trimmed it down to fix it to the right amount. All right, so once I have those on, at this point they are completely done and ready. The windows are really fun. You can open them. You could tie them closed with a string. I ultimately decided just to adhere them down a little bit. For me, I wanted them attached a little easier to make it easier to take photos and also to pop them in and out of an envelope. But these would also be super fun to pop in the mail in an envelope, folded in half flat. And then when your recipient pulls them out of the envelope, they would just pop open. But again, for me, I decided on this just to go ahead and adhere them. You notice I'm only adhering them on the outer edge, so it still leaves kind of a folded 3D effect. So even though they don't actually open on mine, it still gave a lot of dimension. But the choice is totally up to you. You could, like I said, tie them with a ribbon around the whole card. You could just tie the front across with a ribbon or bow in a couple different places. You could tuck a different sentiment underneath where those borders are to add a little more depth, or lots of different things. But I really like the fun effect of this and the way these border dies work on each side. Thanks so much for coming by. I hope you'll give this a try. Have a wonderful day.